Hello, everyone. Welcome to IGEL Weekly Podcast. This is episode 67. I am your guest host today, Patrick Toner, joined by two regulars and good friends from IGEL, Sebastian Parasat and Chris Feeney. Guys, how you doing?
Chris, you first.
Well, Chris, you're in a nice fall. For the people watching, you're in a beautiful park right now with the nice fall foliage.
Gotta set the mood, right? Good. Nice fall day here. It's election day in America. So get out and vote if you haven't already. Make sure you get that thing going on.
It's midterms, right?
Midterms, yes. Look at you, Seb. Knowing how politics go on in America here. But yes, so we are electing the entire United States House representatives, or some are getting reelected, some are not. And then the Senate's about a third of the Senate, roughly. And then, of course, local and state offices. But it's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. Fall colors are out, leaves are falling, and blowing leaves, enjoying this change of season. So,
I've realized, Chris, being in Florida now, we do not have that. Even in Northeast Florida, where I'm located, we have a lot of like pine trees, all the oak trees. Nothing changes here. And it wasn't until I went up to Charlotte a few weeks back that I saw, the nice fall leaves and everything. It's kind of nice, but
yeah,
I'm also not really missing the temperature I would be in right now if I was still up in New Jersey. So
yeah, I would say I was at the beginning of October, right after the hurricane blew through. I was down in Miami. It was beautiful. No humidity. It was very nice. About a month later, I came back down to South Florida, and the humidity was back, and I was like, this is miserable.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, oh, man.
It's one thing to have heat. Humidity is a whole nother animal. It really does make it worse. All right. Well, hey, Seb, how you doing, man? How's everything going in Europe? Everything good?
Oh, in Europe, we're doing almost good. We have also fall right now, so I just did some math with my converter. So we have 14 degrees Celsius, which are 57 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's acceptable. It's not too cold, not too warm. So nothing to be complaining about. So not a lot of rain. We're doing fine. We have a community session this evening. I mean, for those of you who are not part of the Agile community, I'm definitely engaging you to join us. We have a great session today for the insiders, where we'll share some strategic choices we made for the year 2023. So stay awake. We will share great insight a couple of days in the Agile community. So besides that, I'm doing extremely good. Leaving today in the evening time for a stand-up comedy together with my wife. So I mean, more comedy than we have in the Agile community already, and having fun. So yeah.
Wait, are you a stand-up comedian there, Sebastian?
No, I would like to.
I was about to say, are you moonlighting as a stand-up comedian?
No. I cannot really imagine someone wanting to listen to me. That's yeah, I don't know.
I think you'd be really good at it.
I don't think so, but thanks. I appreciate it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very good. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Sounds like a nice night. How cold does it get by you, Seb? Like in the winter time, what is it generally looking like?
You mean from a temperature perspective?
Yeah, I know. I see you doing your calculation there. So
it's about 40. Yeah, I would say usually we're about 0 degrees. So so it's about 5 degrees would be 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and 0 would be 32. So that's our usual temperatures. Not extremely cold since we're in the mid of Germany, but if you go to the south or to the north, it can be even worse. So for us, if you get some snow, you might be lucky. But in the last 5 years, we got snow 3 or 4 times, not more than that, and not really a huge amount.
Got it. Well, yeah, snow is something I'm definitely not. I don't miss one bit. I've shared that many times here. But selling my snowblower, getting rid of my snow shovels, the salt, all the things I had to offload out of my garage, I was very happy to get rid of. Well, anyway, very good. So. For everyone listening, as Seb mentioned, the IGEL, a lot of things going on in the IGEL community. Definitely check it out if you're not in the IGEL community. If you listen to this podcast, you're not in the IGEL community. I would find that a little strange, actually. There's probably not too many people to fit in that camp. But definitely use the IGEL community. IGELcommunity.com. Seb's doing a great job over there and just giving us a lot of good content. And it's relevant because today is our podcast edition. I'm sorry, our IGEL community edition of the podcast, where we cover different community blogs that, mostly Seb. Is there anyone else that writes them, or you kind of write all of them at this point?
No, we have a lot of people who are also writing content, and the only task that I am doing in that case is taking the content and putting that on our blog site. From the video blog at the moment, mostly me, but we have also great people like Frederick Bradstick, who is delivering great content when it comes to AVD and FIDO, two-factor authentication. So there we are sharing from content from others, but from the pure creation of vlog, myself, and from the blog perspective, a lot of people in that community are wanting to share what they did.
Well, Seb and Patrick, just a little teaser as we enter the remainder of this year and turn the corner into 2023. I'll be getting with you, Seb, certainly to put some more content together. More specifically on some areas of interest and some new stuff that we're working on. If those are folks listening that are in the Imprivata camp, having worked with that product, we got some stuff brewing, and we'll be able to share more of that here. So some good stuff coming.
Nice.
So, yes.
Very good. Very good. Well, all right. That's
what a great teaser.
Definitely.
How should I compete with that? Is my topic right now.
Here.
This one is just as important because I'm having a problem with RDP audio. So let's talk.
Yeah, listen, this is one that, man, this is probably a topic that I wouldn't say, maybe, we talking about unified communications. That's probably the biggest hot topic of the last, maybe 2 years. And I would say probably even still till today, right? That's the conversation I want to have with every single customer that we work with. Especially if they're an IGEL customer, but even if they're not, I mean, it's just a huge topic that everybody needs more than ever. And of course, one of the major components of that is the audio device. I'm actually we were talking a little bit before this, so I've got my EPOS headset. I think definitely Chris, I think you have one as well. I
love my EPOS headset.
Great headsets.
Multiple headsets.
They really are the best.
You know what? We should really have some sponsors for this podcast. Right. I mean, I'm sure there's, yes, it's
brought to you by EPOS Audio.
That's
the
right.
Best headsets in the business.
We need to get a food sponsor, a drink sponsor, and some technology sponsorships here.
That would be nice, especially if they send us food and drinks.
That's right. I'm thinking Omaha Steaks. Maybe it's getting that.
I'll talk to our digital marketing guy, see what we can do.
Yes, get that guy on it.
Chase, if you're listening, we got big ideas here.
That's right.
But yeah, so guys, obviously audio device is a huge part of everybody's strategy. Specifically when you get to the IGEL OS, it's a little different sometimes than people are used to. People a lot of time are used to having a Windows endpoint. Linux handles things a little differently. IGEL has some tools built in that helps you do things like prioritize devices. And Seb has done a really nice blog here that just goes into it. So Seb, I'm going to go ahead and kick this video off. I don't know if you want to introduce anything else that I'm missing there, but I'll go ahead and kick it off.
Yes.
And let me hit you here. There we go.
Just a few things, maybe, since we already started a discussion outside of the podcast together with Chris and Patrick. We have one starting point where everything can break or work extremely good. So beside the extremely great written unified communication guide from Lars Glöckner that you can find on the IGELcommunity.com website, where a lot of recommendations are made regarding how to set up your Zoom on VDI, your Teams, your WebEx, etc. If the headset is not working locally or is not set properly locally, there is a high chance that it will not work in this session. Not saying every time, but there is a high chance. So first thing that I would like to say is always test your headset. And if you have the ability to try first with a wired one, with a corded one, I would definitely recommend to do so. Not saying that wireless headphones are complicated, but sometimes you might have other issues hitting in. So starting with a corded one, like a USB one, is my best bet to start with, just to check that everything is working, and then you can try to fiddle down all of the other security settings and all the other peripherals that you want to integrate. So that's just a first thing I would like to share. The device recognition locally is mandatory for getting into work, because even if you're using the Teams optimization or the Zoom optimization, it always relies on the local device recognition. There is one, I would say, one exception, because we had the discussion with Chris just before starting, which is called the native USB redirection, which is mostly used to redirect kind of physically a device from your local USB port to a virtual USB port of your VTI autonomous server. There, it's not needed, but in that case, we usually don't recommend to redirect this way the audio and video devices, just because you will break any kind of other optimization that is in place of your Teams, of your Zoom, because they are relying on the local usage. And if the device redirects to the session, it will just work there and not in the second session. And from a second thing, the native USB direction channel is usually not optimized. So you will lose all this real-time audio video transfer. Not saying it would not work, just saying it might not be smooth as it would be on an optimized channel. So that was just one introduction to that extremely huge topic. So on the video itself, I'm starting with explaining why using that, in which manner. But one thing I can already tell you is it's extremely complex. It's extremely complex because no vendor, no device is working from one version to another to 100%. Especially if it comes to wireless device. So going through the step that I'm describing in the first step of the video, so it's about minute 2, if I remember right, from the time schedule. I'm checking with the system information tool, which is, if not disabled by a profile, available in your start menu under the system tab, where you can check if the USB device, like your webcam, your headset, was recognized from the system itself, and if it's already there's a high chance to get it working on the next level. As soon as you check that, on minute 3, we have the sound preferences, which is what you're already knowing from Windows, from your Mac OS, is basically where you choose your standard input and output device, and the volume, the input volume, or also test if the device is working or not. So in a non-appliance mode, it's in your taskbar, it's a little speaker symbol that you can just right-click and say settings, and then look at the preferences, sorry, my bad, and checking which output device you want to use. Now you may ask, that's a great thing, but what happens if I have a webcam, which is having a microphone, if I have a headset, which is having a microphone and a headphone, and lastly, maybe also an internal speaker? Obviously, you can just use them at one time. At the same time, you can just choose one default output and one default input. But in that case, you have to do that manually in that tool. And now coming back to how most of our users are working, most of our users are working inside of a Citrix session, of an IDP session, and will not see the local sound manager. That's right. Let's go back to that question in a couple of minutes. Just saying, if you want to test it locally first to check if everything is working, and then we can go the next step. So
yeah, that's a great point there, Seb. You know,
yeah,
that's kind of a lot of things, right? Always check locally first. It really is a huge, just the logical way you want to troubleshoot things with IGEL and Citrix, or IGEL and VMware.
Yeah, it just makes life easier, right? It just makes it easier to debug or to find the root cause. We had the same discussion with a couple of customers in the Azure community, and also with Azure pre-sales and advanced services folks. We have users, I'm just jumping to another topic for a second, who are using the USB access control, which is an extremely powerful, I would say some security-driven setting that you can make on the IGEL OS to block the access to specific device classes, to specific devices. But if you already make a mistake there, then you can break everything which is happening behind that configuration step. So if you are excluding by mistake your audio device in that USB access list already, well, then you can do whatever you like on the optimization side. It will never work because the operating system itself will block already the access to that kind of device. So just saying, start always from scratch, if you can, from a factory to reset device and really start from scratch, test your device, and then add your configuration step by step to check if maybe one misconfiguration or one bug, that happens also on our side, is maybe blocking the execution of your test.
That's a great point. I was just thinking about this too. While you're talking, I'm on my IGEL laptop here. I've got the sound preferences up, and I plugged in, headphones just immediately to see what does it get picked up, and I'm in the audio jack port here, not a USB scenario. It did pick it up, so now and it seems to. How would I know that it's now the default? I would imagine it should automatically recognize that there's headphones plugged into the audio jack, and that would be now the default output device. That would be expected behavior, correct? For the audio jack?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That would be, and usually the device that you selected in your list is the device which is selected to be the primary one. So if it's blue, blue backgrounded, blue selected, then it should be the device which would be used by the sound manager itself.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at now. As soon as I plugged it in, it turned blue, and
sounds good. Yeah,
fantastic.
It kind of segues into the screen here, right? Because ultimately, to your point, Seb, I talk to customers frequently, and I'm sure you guys do as well, where headsets have microphones built in, and sometimes they're working on a device that have USB speakers, but there's a built-in speaker in the device, or there's a speaker in the monitor, and so it can get a little confusing at times, right? When you have multiple input and output devices. So I see in the video here we're really getting into how do we set the priority?
Yeah,
what are your recommendations on that?
I would just explain where we are at the moment. So we just jumped from the sound preferences back to the IGEL setup. So the IGEL setup is the local configuration tool that you have usually on your IGEL operating system when pressing Control Alt and S. Your user will not have a lot to do there because you are doing everything by a profile, but sometimes you want to test something by your own as an administrator in that tool. So that's where we are at the moment. So if you go to accessories and then sound preference and options, if I remember right, you have the port name and for the output and for the default input. So that's where you can say, do I want to have a specific device name set by default and used by default on every boot up? In my case, I selected, I'm just jumping to the Zoom right now, the HDMI output. If you have the exact device that you want to use and you're sure that this device is always connected, use that one, and you can just paste it into your profile saying the BCM 28305 HDMI1 or whatever you want to use is the default one. If you put that, apply the profile and send it back to your endpoint, it will always pick up that sound output as soon as available. At the same time, you can do the same also for the input. So if you have, like Patrick mentioned, your headphone and you have your Logitech whatever webcam, and you always want the Logitech webcam to pick up, then you can specify the Logitech 4K whatever name, and it will pick up that one. Just two things in that specific area. First of all, the name has to match one-to-one what is found locally in the sound manager. So be careful; it should be case sensitive, and if there is a space, also use a space in between. My opinion is putting a device in that field can be, I would not say dangerous because you're not harming your device, but can be quite surprising to the user because he is not knowing every time if the webcam will not change or if he will connect another device to endpoint or change his headset. So my recommendation is then to jump to the minute, let's jump to, hold on a second, to minute 8:30, where I would choose the port name instead of the device name. So we have there usually the automatic detection, which is using the automatic order and then using the device name. In our case, you can say, hey, why not using, as soon as the device boots up, always the HDMI or DisplayPort output, because that's where my best speakers are connected to. Or in case I've connected speakers per USB or per jack, use that one. Or even better, if you have a headphone connected via wire or via wireless, say, use my headphones as a default output. And that's something which is extremely handy. Yeah, I won't tell you about a little bit more about a feature in a couple of seconds, but just saying that if you have the default sound input then set to default headset microphone, then you have the best experience for the user usually, that everything is pre-selected for him or for her, without having him or her the need to switch to the sound manager, which might not be available because you are using Imprivata or appliance mode. So you can make the life of your user easier if you preset that in a profile. Now coming back to a small hint, because it's only applicable on Citrix, but still it's a feature which is not well known and which was a little bit buggy in the past, but which was extremely well right now. I will just tell you in the audience, if you never worked with that, in the system registry of IGEL in a profile, you have a specific section, and one is called ICA module, and then audio redirection v4. I know the name is not really helpful, but if you work with Citrix and with IGEL for a couple of years, you know that you have in a standard way in the sound manager of Windows only the Citrix HDX audio input and output, which is not so helpful for the end user because he is not knowing if it's a headset, if it's the HDMI port which is used, it's just Citrix HDX audio. If you want to make that available to the end user, that he can change that in his terminal server VDI session of Citrix instead of the Windows Sound Manager. Check this registry key ica.module.audio redirection v4, and then you will have the same ability to change between different audio and input devices inside of the Citrix session without having the need to switch locally.
And Seth, that's not in the video here, right? So can you go through that? What was
No,
that registry
definitely,
setting?
right.
ICA, what was it?
ICA module audio redirection v4. It's not part of the video because I really focus on the local approach and the local prioritization. But yeah, I'm sure we can definitely have another session on how to set up the unified COM stuff. I know that Lars already did a session with you, if I remember right. But the audio redirection v4 is a hidden champion, I would say, in the Citrix world.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I think so. We did a workshop with Lars Glockner, and I think he went through that exact setting. I think there's also one for the webcam, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I've been using that personally, and it's really cool because in Teams I can actually just select which device I want as if I was in a Windows endpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great feature. So yeah, great tip there. So guys, let me ask you this, so this is the way to automate it. How many of your customers, like I've in the past utilized quick settings with certain customers where they say, look, I just want the end user to have access to certain settings. That might be a good topic to cover if we haven't, the difference between settings and quick settings and how to leverage that. But
yeah,
that's kind of maybe a little bit more of a looser way to do it. Hey, give this to your end user. They know where to click a button, and then they can go into just those settings, right? You don't publish anything else to them except for what you want. So all they would have is the audio settings. They can go in there, make some changes, pick default. So there's kind of a few ways to do this. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, the last time I had a customer that had a use case for that, it was basically they're traveling laptops, and they were accessing a Citrix desktop. Well, they might be based on the East Coast and happen to be in Central or West or Pacific time zone. And they were noticing that if they're out West and they go to check email or something like that, that the time was pulling off of whatever it was set. And so they wanted the ability to, have them make or modify a change like the time zone, and that way when it's synced up with Citrix, it would recognize and say, oh, it's actually, they're out on the West Coast today. It's 6:30 a.m. right now out there. So something simple like that. We figured out how to make that work. But it was definitely the quick settings feature, which obviously you can do a similar thing with the devices there, which I think would be very handy.
I can tell
some
you
flexibility.
maybe yeah, sorry.
No, I'm
Okay,
done.
I can tell
Sorry.
you maybe one teaser now on my side regarding OS 12 and the approach on quick settings. I got the feedback in the Edu community, but also from our pre-sales time, that the quick settings isn't really handy and really user-friendly to use. And I mean, it's partially right. You have the same structure and the same view as an IGEL setup, but just reduced to specific parts of the configuration. This might change a lot in OS 12, and I just have seen some approach to that our devs are following, and I can tell you that it's definitely a way more user-friendly than it was on the quick setup. But for the moment, it's unfortunately the only way to do that. Besides, if you're skilled in writing some bash or shell script, you can do what is called a Zenity or a YAT selection window, where you can say, whatever setting you want to do, and the user just have to click 1 or 2, and it would be applied by using the set param or set user param or set group value, depending on where you want to set that device setting in the registry. But that's really the high level. For the standard user, display switcher, sound manager, and the quick settings is the only way to go at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think I always appreciate, Seb, when you give us a little teaser for OS 12, right? I mean, you're able to get your hands on kind of everything going on there. So, definitely hoping you keep us in the loop here on the podcast, because some of those features, right? We're almost speaking a different language if we're talking about quick settings, and that goes away in OS 12 where it's rebranded and has different functions. I think that's probably a welcome change from my perspective, but for sure that's good stuff. All right, well, listen, guys, I think this topic we kind of covered about all you can cover on it. Extremely useful. I think everybody kind of needs to have a strategy. If you're an IGEL admin, you have to have some sort of strategy how you're going to get a default audio device set up. So Zeb went through the automatic ones. We talked through more of a user-based manual way to do it. But for sure, if you kind of just throw everything out there and you don't have a strategy, you're definitely going to run into issues. So good stuff, guys. A couple things coming up here, and I don't know, guys, I'll give you a minute too if there's anything in IGEL you want to kind of plug. Chris and I were talking before the podcast. We're going to have the XenTegra roadshow coming up. We're going to be we're basically doing XenTegra user groups now based on territory. So the XenTegra user group for Florida is coming up. Actually, let me just share the screen out. But we're going to be having some fun in a few weeks here, Chris. Maybe doing a little bit of extreme go-karting, among a few other things that we have going on.
Does it require me to renew my life insurance before I get in a car?
You might want to. Definitely check, make sure your insurance company is going to cover you if you knock somebody off the road there. But we'll be on the 16th. We'll be in South Florida. This place looks pretty cool, actually. So if you're a listener, you're in the South Florida area, reach out to us. We'd love to have you out for this. There's still some spots open. It's going to be a Nutanix and IGEL mostly event. We have a bunch of sponsors. There'll be a Nutanix workshop. And we'll be doing a little IGEL conversion workshop, or kind of a mini workshop during the lunch hour. So definitely want to check this out. Chris and I will probably have a good race. We'll keep you guys up to date on the podcast here on the results. We'll see who's better. Probably Chris. You're from the North Carolina area. If you're anything like Andy, it's just in your blood.
Well, let's see. Give me a couple of laps to get warmed up, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Got it. Cool. How about you guys? Anything else coming up? Seb, you mentioned the community event. Anything else you want to plug here and just keep everybody in the loop?
Yep, I would be happy to do so. So we have a few changes and a few things coming up in the next weeks. One thing I just want to mention, because we have some minutes left, the Agile community will turn 5. Who would have thought about that on the 20th of December? So if you're not putting yourself on a big dinner on that date, or for the North American colleague on a great breakfast, I would be happy to welcome you. We have a community meetup plan, to join us on igilecommunity.com and the event site, because there you can register for that event, and we will have some great speakers, guests. We'll have Jet hopefully joining, we will have Irfan joining. Would have also the early adopters like Frederick Bradstick, like Christian Drilling joining. So all the people who really built the Agile community and were there from the beginning on, but also all the Agile insiders who were there from the beginning on and telling us about how they are feeling. And we will share some great facts and figures coming from the Agile community and from their members. So please join there. And the second thing, just because I guess it might be interesting, because we spoke about the Agile OS 12 and UMS 12.1, even if you might listen to that the podcast after the event was launched, we have a meetup on Thursday evening, my time, so 5 o'clock afternoon. It will be recorded and shared on the agilecommunity.com video website afterwards. But we have the UMS 12 and OS 12 story, where Mali from our product management, our VP of product management, will give you crispy insight of what the new operating system and management platform will bring with it at the beginning of next year. So definitely, if you're a fan of Agile and you want to look at the best working and best looking for the operating system of 2023, please join us on Thursday evening or on the community website for watching the recording.
Very cool. Yeah, so if anyone has any, want to register, you can go to igilecommunity.com/events. I'm going to see if I'm available for that one. That sounds pretty cool. Chris, how about you, man? Any other events, any happenings you'd like to talk about before we close here?
It was pretty busy, I would say, end of summer into early fall. Got a little bit of a respite here before kind of picking things up again, heading into the holidays. But no, it's pretty full. I mean, personally, I've got some things I'm working on the channel enablement side, but also the project that we're doing with Imprivata. So we'll have more to share about that in the coming weeks. So as I prefaced earlier, some of that will include, some community content as well as stuff that we'll put in the IGEL Academy. So where you should be going, if you are not registered as a user in IGEL Academy, if you're a partner, you should be registered, just like you should be part of the IGEL community. But have an Academy account, because you never know. There might be some secret content there that only exclusive people will have access to. We'll have to see about that. So
Chris, any chance this major Imprivata announcement, we'll just make it on the podcast here? What do you say?
Let's put it out there. Yeah. Got some, if you were paying attention, I'll just, we got a thing we announced that we're doing with AVD, but there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that we haven't talked about. So some really cool stuff. So stay tuned, my friends.
All right. All right, we tried, guys. Can't say we didn't try, but
try.
Anyway,
no,
so
you're not going to get it out of me, Patrick. Not yet, at least.
Well, Chris, Seb, always a pleasure. Definitely looking forward to the next one. For everybody who's listening, definitely subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast app you use. We're available on all of them. And as always, check out the XenTegra's events page. Look at an event near you. We'd love to meet you in person. We're full steam ahead with events right now. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Have a great week.
You too, guys.
Take care.